Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Hello dear ladies and gentlemen. In today's lecture I am going to discuss with you infarction. So what is infarction? A process in which ischemic necrosis develop in an area distal to the occlusion of an artery or vein by an embolus, thrombus, spasm or torsion, etc. Common organ to be affected: lung, brain, heart, intestine, and lower limb. Nearly 99% of all infarcts result from thrombotic or embolic events. Other mechanisms include local vasospasm, expansion of atheroma due to hemorrhage into atheromatous plaque, external compression of the vessel, e.g. trauma and entrapment of vessel at hernial sacs. Factor affecting infarction. The development and size of infarct are determined by the nature of the vascular supply, dual or single, the rate of development of occlusion, slow or rapid susceptibility of tissue to hypoxia, oxygen content of the blood, the severity and duration of ischemia. Some organs have single blood supply while others have a dual supply. So now we are coming to discuss with you those organs which have dual supply of blood. So on first stage come lung, pulmonary artery and bronchial artery. On second come liver, hepatic artery and portal vein, hand and forearm, radial artery and ulnar artery. The effect of such a dual blood supply is that if there is obstruction of one of the artery, the other one may prevent the rapid occurrence of the infarction in these organs. Unlike the renal and splenic circulation, which have ended arterial supply, infarction caused by venous thrombosis is more likely to occur in organs with single venous outflow channel, such as testes and ovary. Rate of occlusion development. Slowly developing occlusion are less likely to cause infarction since they provide time for the development of collaterals. Now we are coming to discuss with you tissue susceptibility to hypoxia. The susceptibility of a tissue to hypoxia influences the likelihood of infarction. Neurons undergo irreversible damage with deprived of their blood supply for only 3 to 4 minutes. Myocardial cells die after 20 to 30 minutes of ischemia, and fibroblasts are more resistant. Now we are coming to discuss with you oxygen content of blood. Partial obstruction of the blood flow in an anemic or cyanotic patient may lead to severe tissue infarction. Types of infarct are classified depending on the basis of their color, reflecting the amount of hemorrhage into hemorrhagic, red infarct, anemic, white infarct. Now I am coming to discuss with you red infarct. So what is red infarct? Occur in venous occlusion as in testicular and ovarian torsion. Loose tissues such as intestine, lung and tissue with dual circulation, e.g. the lung, liver, that permitting flow of blood from unobstructed vessel into the necrotic zone, and tissues that were previously congested because of the sluggish outflow of congested blood. Additionally, when blood flow is re-established to the site of previous arterial occlusion and necrosis. Now I am coming to discuss with you white infarct. So what is white infarct? Occur in an arterial occlusion in the solid organ with a single arterial blood supply, such as the heart, spleen and kidney, where the solidity of the tissue limits the amount of hemorrhage that can seep into the area of ischemia. Now we are coming to discuss with you comparison between white and red infarct. So character color are pale anemic in white infarct and in red hemorrhagic in red infarct. So affected vessels are in white infarct are arterial occlusion and in red infarct are venous occlusion. Constancy of the organ in white infarct are solid organ, and while in red infarct are loose organ. Blood supply of the organ in white infarct are single artery, while in red infarct are dual arterial blood supply. Example of organ in white infarct are kidney, heart, spleen, solid organ, while in the red infarct are lung, intestine, liver, dual blood, ovary, testis. Now I am coming to discuss with you other morphological type of infarction. Gangrene due to arterial occlusion plus infection and is actually a large pale infarct infected by microorganism. Might be dry, wet or gaseous gangrene. Liquefactive infarction occur in the brain as an infarct typically undergoes liquefaction and become a fluid-filled cyst. Also, it takes place in the abscess formation. Now we are coming to discuss with you morphology of infarct. So gross morphology of infarct are all infarct are wedge shape with the occluded vessel at the apex of the periphery of the organ forming the base of the wedge. The infarction which will induce inflammation in the tissue surrounding the area of infarction. Following inflammation, some of the infarct may show recovery. However, most are ultimately replaced by scar, except in the brain. Now, I am coming to discuss with you microscopic morphology of the infarction. The dominant histologic feature of the infarction is ischemic coagulative necrosis. The brain is an exception to this generalization where liquefative necrosis is common. Now I am coming to discuss with you clinical example of infarction. Myocardial infarction usually result from occlusive thrombosis supervening on ulcerating atheroma of a major coronary artery. They are white infarct and may cause sudden death or cardiac failure, etc. Now I am coming to discuss with you cerebral infarct may appear as fail or hemorrhagic or associated with a fatal increased intracranial pressure due to swelling. Sin hypoxic cell lack the ability to maintain ionic gradient that they absorb water and swell, forming liquefative necrosis. Now I am coming to discuss with you lung infarct are typically dark red and conical wedge shape and may cause chest pain and hemoptysis. Now I am coming to discuss with you splenic infarct, conical and subcapsular, initially dark red, later turn to the pale. Now I am coming to discuss with you shock. So what is shock? Shock is a clinical stage of systematic hypoperfusion in which there is a progressive cardiovascular collapse associated with acute reduction in cardiac output and effective circulating blood volume resulting in hypotension. An organ insufficiency adequate organ perfusion depends on the arterial blood pressure, which in turn depend on cardiac output. Peripheral vascular resistance PR is equal to stroke volume multiplied by heart rate. In turn, stroke volume depend on preload, i.e. blood volume, and afterload, i.e. arterial resistance and myocardial contractility. Any defect in any of these factors might result in shock. Causes and types of shocks are: shock can be classified in a hypovolemic, cardiogenic, distributive shock. Now I am coming to discuss with you hypovolemic shock. So what is hypovolemic shock? This type is caused by reduced blood volume. Reduction in circulating blood volume result in the reduction of the preload, which lead to inadequate left ventricular filling, reflect as decreased left and right ventricular and diastolic volume and pressure. The reduced preload culminates in decreased cardiac output, which lead to widespread tissue hypoperfusion. Now I am coming to discuss with you causes of hypovolemia, hemorrhage, dehydration in cases of vomiting or diarrhea. The effects of hemorrhage depend on the rate and amount of blood loss. Hypovolemic shock is the most common type of shock in clinical practice. A normal healthy adult can lose half a liter 10% of blood volume without significant symptom, but loss of 25% or more of the blood volume result in significant hypovolemia. Now I am coming to discuss with you cardiac shock, cardiogenic shock. This is a shock that results from severe depression of cardiac performance, primarily result from pump failure of the right or left ventricle. The most common cause is left ventricle MI shock. Occur when greater than 40% of the ventricular mass is damaged, and mortality rate may reach 80% of the affected individual. Causes of cardiogenic shock include acute MI occur if greater than 40% of ventricular mass are involved. Now I am coming to discuss with you ventricular outflow obstruction, e.g. aortic stenosis, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, reduction in cardiac output, e.g. aortic or mitral regulation, arrhythmia, cardiac tamponade, gross fluid accumulation in the pericardial space, tension pneumothorax, gas accumulation in the pleural space, massive pulmonary embolism, severe pulmonary hypertension. Now I am coming to discuss with you distributive shock, refer to subtypes of shock caused by profound peripheral vasodilation despite normal or high cardiac output and characterized by inadequate perfusion of tissue due to misdistribution of blood flow and the blood is not reaching the tissues adequately. Causes of distributive shock are septic shock, anaphylactic shock, neurogenic shock, septic shock, serious bacterial infection caused by gram-negative organism, e.g. E. coli, and gram-positive bacteria or fungi. Now I am coming to discuss with you pathogenesis. Cell wall of microorganisms contain endotoxin, which are activate inflammatory mediator that induce vasodilation and increase capillary permeability, resulting in reduced cardiac output and presenting with shock. Anaphylactic shock defined as a widespread vasodilation and muscular permeability that result from the widespread allergic reaction to an antigen. The hypersensitivity reaction is life-threatening. The pathophysiology is due to re-exposure to antigen, resulting in degradation of IgE-bound mast cell and basophil. The released content of granule lead to vasodilation, increased vascular permeability, bronchoconstriction, and increased mucus production. Neurogenic shock, shock that results from the loss or suppression of sympathetic tone, causing massive vasodilation in the venous vasculature, venous return to the heart, cardiac output, and the most common etiology include spinal cord injury above T6 level and severe pain. Clinical trigger of shock are low blood pressure, rapid weak pulse, low urine output, confusion, and CNS disturbance. Now I am coming to discuss with you cold extremities, cyanosis, and loss of skin elasticity. So systematic change in shock, all systems are affected in a trial of adaptation, but the net result are lung changes in the rate and depth of breathing, metabolic acidosis, which stimulate respiratory center, resulting in hyperventilation, and adult respiratory distress syndrome. Kidney, the secretory function of the kidney. The secretory function of the kidney is always disturbed in shock. This is due to the circulatory collapse and hypotension, but it may be aggravated by the secretion of renin by the kidney itself, aldosterone by the adrenal, and antidiuretic hormone by the posterior pituitary gland. These hormones are secreted in an attempt to retain fluid and restore the blood volume as the compensatory mechanism. Adrenal gland, in addition to a release of aldosterone in response to change in kidney function and fluid electrolyte disorder, adrenal gland also secrete glucocorticoids hormone GIT. Acute ulceration of the stomach and duodenum may complicate shock. The mechanism is not known. This is called cooling or Swiss ulcer and may be due to increased stress hormone CNS during the compensated phase of the shock. Cerebral ischemia is associated with changes in the state of consciousness, confusion, and when the blood pressure falls to low to level below 50 to 60 mmHg, the brain suffers serious ischemic damage. Stages of shock are initial stage. In this stage, tissue are under-perfused and associated with decreased cardiac output, increase in aerobic metabolism, and lactic acid. Now, I am coming to discuss with you compensatory shock stage, reversible condition in which sympathetic system is activated is in an attempt to compensate the hyperfusion state. Progressive state of progress in the compensatory with lactic acid production and development of metabolic acidosis. Irreversible or refractory stage. In this stage, there is cellular necrosis with multiple organ dysfunction. Syndrome may occur. Death is expected. Theoretically, at some point in its evolution, shock become irreversible. Due to severity of vascular impairment and tissue damage, no certain indication are available to say when this point is reached. Measurement of blood pressure and central venous pressure indicate the severity of the vascular disturbance, but may respond to treatment. Unfortunately, when reaching this point, death is highly expected. Now I am coming to discuss with you outcome of shock. There are three possible outcomes: complete recovery after convalescence, survival and with permanent damage, and death. Now I am coming to discuss with you congestion and hyperemia. Definition of the congestion and hyperemia are: both of them can be defined as a local increase in volume of blood in a particular tissue or organ. Comparison between hyperemia and congestion are: active process in congestion occur passive process, arterial dilation, while in congestion occur venous dilation, obstruction, red color tissue, while in congestion the tissue color is blue red, oxygenated blood accumulated in the organ, while in congestion deoxygenated blood is accumulated. Muscle exercise is an example, while in congestion heart failure and lung congestion occur. Now I am coming to discuss with you hyperemia. So what is hyperemia? Hyperemia is an active process resulting from an increased blood flow into the tissue due to arterial vasodilation. It is commonly occur in exercising skeletal muscle or acute inflammation. Affected tissue become red as there is engorgement with oxygenated blood. Now I am coming to discuss with you microscopic finding in congestion organ. So first of all, we are coming to discuss with you pulmonary congestion. Passive accumulation of blood in the lung due to left heart failure, mitral stenosis, etc. Associated with gross and microscopic changes in the acute type of congestion. Gross changes include heavy form, dark lung and cut surface shows portly hemorrhagic fluid on squeezing. Microscopic changes include alveolar capillaries engorged with blood and septal edema. while in chronic pulmonary congestion, gross pointing include brown in duration of the lung and microscopic pointing include thickened and fibrotic beaded alveolar septa. Alveolar spaces contain hemosiderin laden macrophage cardiac pillar cell. Chronic pulmonary congestion may result in pulmonary hypertension. Now I am coming to discuss with you hepatic congestion. So what is hepatic condition? Hepatic condition can be divided into two types. First of all come acute hepatic congestion. Both central vein and sinusoid are distended. There is a central hepatocyte degeneration, fatty changes in the middle zone, while peripheral hepatocytes are normal because they are better oxygenated. Now I am coming to discuss with you chronic hepatic congestion. So what is chronic hepatic congestion? This is a passive congestion of liver in which gross changes are detected, including depressed central zone with fatty changes. Liver appear red-brown, nut mid liver, i.e. similar to the coat surface of nut mid seed. Portal zone is red because of better oxygenation. Microscopic changes include appearance of hemosiderin laden macrophages, while in long-standing hepatic congestion as in right-sided cardiac pillar, there is fibrosis and loss of architecture called cardiac cirrhosis. Goodbye dear ladies and gentlemen. If you like my lecture, please subscribe and press the bell icon.